So the market is crashing. There's all this virus stuff going on. The Fed is printing an infinite amount of this stuff to go chuck it at anyone who's moving or breathing to try to stimulate the economy. The central banks and a lot of the countries all over the world are buying this stuff, which is called gold. And so we're living in a really interesting time. And in this video, I want to share with you my stock picks in the majority of my stock portfolio to profit from the next market crash. Yes, I said the words profit. I said the word profit. So this is my stock picks on what to do when they print an infinite amount of this helicopter money. Oh, there's so much of it. They're printing an infinite amount of it. And how I'm gonna prepare to profit from all of this. So this is Jake Ducey with I Love Prosperity. Make sure you hit the like button on the side right over there. That'll send this out into the YouTube universe. And let's dive right into this video. Okay, so the first company that I have a lot of my stock money into is Barrick Gold. Barrick Gold is one of the largest gold miners in the world. We're headed into a huge bull rally for gold, and the companies that mine it out of the ground get an incredible multiple on it. When you buy stocks, what are you buying? You're buying pieces of businesses. So as people continue, and countries and central banks continue to use and lose all of their confidence in this infinite money printing, that's when this stuff does really well. And if you own the companies that produce and sell this stuff, there's a lot of money to be made. Barrick is extremely undervalued at the time of making this. It's still under $20 for the stock, and it's one of the largest companies in the world. It's got management team that's been around for forever. It's got a product that they sell that's about to hit all-time highs in the prices of it. And it's why I really like them, because if you're in gold, the way that it will work when the bull market really takes off is eventually when the dust settles and everyone's analyzing the financial reports, the quarterly reports of different companies from all industries, and they go, what the heck? Why is the earnings per share? Why is the ratio of the price of stock versus the net value, the net assets of these companies over here so good? And it's going to be a bunch of gold companies. And so eventually Wall Street and all the media companies, CNN, Jim Cramer, all them, they're going to start hucking gold, because it's going to be something that's actually making money while there's so much lack of confidence everywhere else. And so they're going to huck the companies that are most connected to Wall Street. So that's going to be Barrick Gold as one of the first places. We'll talk about some of the other ones here coming up. So they're going to be like, everyone buy Barrick Gold, ah! And then all the laymen and all the mainstream are going to run into those companies. We still haven't even discussed, things like pensions and hedge funds that are going to need to park their money somewhere as well. So that's why I'm really high on Barrick. Next company I'm really high on is not a gold mining company. It's called a royalty and streaming company. That's Franco Nevada. Franco Nevada does something different in the precious metals industry. So a royalty and streaming company basically has no employees. I think Franco Nevada has like 15 employees. So their profit margin is insane, because what they do is they own the gold in the ground, but they don't own the mines. So they have way lower operating expenses, so way higher profit margins, and they own the gold in the ground, but other companies that they do not own do all of the operating expenses and pull it out. So these companies have ownership over the gold. And so that allows them to basically just go resell it on the market without having to deal with all the operating expenses. So Franco Nevada is the #1 royalty and streaming company in the world. This is a lot less risk than, say, a mining company, because obviously if you're dealing with mines, there are more variables, all types of things could happen. But the royalty and streaming companies don't take on those types of liabilities and operating expenses. So they sell this thing that's about to hit record levels, and they sell silver and stuff like that, that will hit record levels, I'm sure, as well. And they keep a way higher percentage of the profit because there's very low expenses. What this means is they will, and they do already, have incredibly healthy actual net asset value to stock price, very low debt, and very low overhead, which makes them, obviously, any company that has low overhead and incredibly high profit margins is really attractive, especially in a climate where this whole stock market rally that we had before it started collapsing from the coronavirus, this was all really due to an infinite amount of money printing, incredibly low interest rates, which made all of these BS companies be able to borrow money at basically no interest and then buy back their own stocks to fool everybody to think there was a real strong bull market in US equities when there really wasn't. It was all really built on a really fragile house of cards that was like the Fed going, here, take all this free money, buy your own stock back. And so all these companies got really over leveraged in debt. Then all of a sudden they get a slight effect to their bottom line and they're screwed because their profit margins were so slim and they were skating on a razor's edge full of incredible levels of debt. Then you insert a royalty and streaming company making billions of dollars with 15 employees, and you can see why I find that to be an attractive business to be buying into. That's Franco Nevada. Next company that I buy stocks in and have a large amount of my portfolio in is called Newmont. Newmont is a gold mining company. Newmont and Barrick have a couple joint ventures. Newmont is the biggest gold mining company in the world. I think Barrick is the second biggest. Newmont is going to be fully autonomous. They're going to literally have machines doing all of this pretty soon. That's going to increase their profit margins even more on this stuff right here. And it's going to make it an even more attractive company, especially in a climate where as this financial system eventually purges itself of all these zombie companies. You maybe heard that term before, zombie companies, meaning these companies that like have these ridiculously high stock prices with really low net asset levels and incredibly high levels of debt, and the company's basically running off of fumes, which was a lot of our market, a lot of these companies that were propping up. So that's why I find Newmont incredibly attractive as well. The reason that I like some of these really blue chip mining companies such as Newmont and Barrick is because there's so much diversity in the mines as well. The mines are all over the world. They're dealing with hundreds of them as opposed to really small mining companies that might have one mine. So you're dealing with a veteran Wall Street company that has a lot of available cash flow as well in order to buy other mines. And so I really like the diversification of their mines, the senior management, and the connection again that they have to Wall Street and the mainstream media, because as this gold bull rally really takes off and there eventually starts to be all these Jim Cramer and type of folks talking about gold, what do you think they're going to talk about? The number one gold mining company in the world, Newmont, that has incredible cash flows. It's going to be fully automatic systems pretty soon. It's got all these things. It's the biggest in the world. And that's where everyone's going to run into, oh, get the biggest gold company in the world. And then once that thing really, then eventually when the gold market hits a bubble, and it will at some point, I mean, no time in the foreseeable future, it's going to be a very long bull run in my opinion. But when the bubble goes, the companies that get blown up to the biggest bubble levels as the pendulum swings towards precious metals, then what's going to happen is Newmont and companies like that are going to blow the bubble. All the mainstream people will run in. That's when I sell out of it. One other company that I like a lot, I would say the three companies I shared before, they're in essence the blue chip companies of gold. Just like Apple was a blue chip company of tech, you would find those companies to be the blue chip ones. Senior management, they've all been around and built billion-dollar successful companies. Even back in the day when gold prices were a lot lower, they still had tremendous cash flows. They own the most amount of mines. They have the most amount of cash reserves. These are the blue chip companies. They're the safest places, right? One of the companies right on the border of that, what you would call technically a junior mining company, is called Pan American Silver. I like Pan American Silver a lot because it's technically still a junior. Like at the time of making this, back-to-back days, the stock has increased by 22% in back-to-back days. So it's extremely undervalued still because the gold industry is really unloved until there's really a currency problem like we're starting to happen right now and people are losing confidence everywhere. That's only when gold is taken seriously, and it just happens to be one of those rare times in human history. So Pan American Silver has a chairman, Ross Beatty, that's been around for a long time. He made a lot of money in copper mining over the years as well. So again, you have senior management, been around for a long time, made a lot of money in the mining industry. They still have a good amount of diversity in mines between California, Mexico, South America, Central America, and they have an incredible amount of upside because the stock price is so low in relation to the actual net asset value and in terms of the coming cash flow, especially when you consider that one of the main supplies for these types of companies, the mining companies, is oil. And with oil being at such low prices, this even increases their cash flow profit margin levels by even higher. So I really like Pan American Silver as well. Now, I shared with you 4 stocks that I personally picked to profit from the next market crash. I've shared with you some of the logistics as to why I bought those. In today's world, we have people that buy stocks just because there's a little green arrow indicating that they go up. That has nothing to do with the reality and health of the company. So I shared with you about the health of these companies, and now I want to share with you a little bit more about the philosophy as to why I've chosen to pick these types of companies and what I foresee, my predictions in the economic trends to come in the future that make me even more bullish on the stocks that I shared earlier. Now, the first reason I'm really bullish on this is because of 0% interest rates and the fact that there is a large probability we'll go towards negative interest rates. When you have artificially low interest rates, what that is meaning in the most basic terms possible is that the currency, the money, is becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. When you do that, you make currency into a commodity. When that happens, every time that occurs, that makes people more bullish on things that have an inverse relationship to the actual economic system. That is gold, and then ultimately as gold moves, that is silver, and that are the companies that mine it out of the ground. So they're not going to be able to ever normalize interest rates because this whole economy is built off of trying to get everyone to borrow money right now to hope that it increases money velocity. Money velocity just means that people finally start spending all their money again instead of holding on to it. When everyone's holding it, that means there's no money velocity. So the prospect of having negative interest rates in America makes me extremely bullish. The second reason that I have this type of philosophical view is simply because all the other central banks and countries around the world have been buying record amounts of gold. They've been preparing for this behind the scenes. Russia and China, you've got Turkey, you've got Iran, you have all of these countries buying tons and tons and literally record levels amount of gold. That's not an exaggeration. They're actually buying records amounts. And it's not just countries, it's also the central banks. The United States dollar is the reserve currency of the world. So that means that countries save in dollars. Well, why is it that they're starting to buy records amounts of gold? They're losing faith that you can just make money cheap and that you can just print an infinite amount of it and everything will be okay. So they're hedging, they're getting safety with this stuff, which means the companies that mine it out of the ground make a huge multiple of growth as the price of this stuff continues to go up because the demand of it is going up. The next reason that I'm even more bullish on it than I was before is because there is an actual supply and demand shortage that is taking place. Some very small mines are temporarily shut down, and there's also been such a surge in the actual demand of it that supply has not been able to keep up with the demand. Anytime there is a legitimate shortage in anything, it doesn't matter whether it's Nike shoes or whether it's gold or whether it's houses, the price of that asset eventually goes through the roof to meet the actual and reflect the actual shortage while there is extreme demand, which means it will send the price of this to even higher levels, I believe. When that occurs, what happens is the companies that mine it out of the ground and sell it to the market get even higher profit margins. The next reason is quantitative easing infinity. I'm gonna play a little clip right here. This is of the president of the Minneapolis Federal Reserve speaking on 60 Minutes just a few days ago.
Your ATM is safe, your banks are safe, there's enough cash in the financial system, and there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever we need to do to make sure that there's enough cash in the banking system.
You heard it right, folks. They have an infinite amount of money, but realize this, they don't actually have any money. They just have the ability to press digits on a computer and put it into circulation. Okay, well, where does the money for all of that come from? Oh, well, it comes from taxes. So does that mean they're gonna tax us more? If they keep printing so much money, are we gonna go into hyperinflation? So all of those things make it a bullish case for gold. Another reason is stock buybacks. So a lot of these companies, as we're starting to see the market go down a lot of these companies, their prices, and they were on these huge bull runs, it wasn't based off of the actual reality of the health of the company. It was based off of borrowing money at really cheap rates and then buying their stocks back. So a lot of these companies have tremendous debt and extremely low profits now, which means that I think there's gonna, my opinion is it's gonna take a lot longer for the dust to settle on a lot of these companies. You're gonna see, I think, a lot of these US oil companies go bankrupt because oil price is so low. These companies were already surviving off of debt. Then you've got all these airline companies that were already just buying all their stocks back to prop up their stock price, even though it wasn't reflecting reality. And then you've got Boeing and all these companies, and they're all pleading for a bank bailout. They're all pleading for the government to give them a bunch of money. Well, what happens if you give them all a bunch of money? You kill the currency. You can't just give away free infinite amount of money and expect the middle class to survive. Because if the middle class, let's say you have $10,000 in savings, but they increase the money supply by $20 trillion, your money is worth less. It buys you less because it puts too much money into the marketplace. And all that money needs to go somewhere. So it increases the prices of everything, which actually simultaneously decreases the purchasing power of your money. Now, here's a clip from the former Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan, who describes this exact scenario.
We don't have a system that's working. We have one that basically moves cash around, and we can guarantee cash benefits. It's far out and at whatever size you like, but we cannot guarantee their purchasing power.
Okay, so none of this has even gone without saying there's a lot of other problems. What people don't realize is the coronavirus was a pin that popped this larger bubble that was bound to be popped because there was too much debt, too much artificially cheap money, and there's too many IOUs. We haven't even discussed the pension problem. Almost every single one of these pensions is severely underfunded, and there's going to be about 20% of the global population that retires over the next 10 years. Where is the money to pay all these people for their pensions, for their retirements, for their Social Security? It isn't there. So all of these states across America are probably going to end up being bailed out as well. So they're going to print even more money in the future, in the very near future, because you're about to have all these baby boomers retire. So you can even look it up yourself. You can go and you can type in on Google, unfunded pensions, pension crisis, and look it up. They're all underfunded, and there's all these baby boomers that are going to retire, and they think they have pensions and Social Security, all these things, but the money isn't there because Wall Street's looted it and stole it, and they've underfunded it all. And so that is even another case that makes me even more bullish on gold and silver, because it has a negatively correlated reaction or relationship to the market and to currency. So I wanted to share with you a little bit into my actual philosophy behind why I am making these types of stocks. So you can see this is a clearly thought out reason as to why I've decided to be strategic in this way, in a way that most of the millennial YouTube gurus that are so smart aren't talking about. And so this is not investment advice. I could be totally wrong. And I just wanted to share that all in this video. So I don't sell any investment courses or anything like that. This channel is just to help awaken people. I saw this bubble coming and popping, and I've been wanting to make this channel for a while, so I finally ended up doing it. I'm really excited about the changes that we will ultimately have in our society and our financial system. I think it's ultimately, once the dust settles, this is going to create a better world for humanity, and it's going to create a global reset into a more healthy economic system that isn't controlled by infinite money printing and central banks and the government and big government and all that crap. So make sure you hit the like button to send this out into the YouTube universe so more people see it. Like I said, I don't have an investment course or anything like that to sell you. So please return the favor for this video if you find it interesting. Do your own research, look at these companies yourself, look at their financial statements yourself, put the dots together yourself, go do the research on some of the philosophies that I shared, and if you find it attractive, you can look at and consider some of these things on your own, but this is not financial advice, this is me sharing my own opinions. If you find this valuable though, please make sure you hit the like button so this sends it out and more people can find this video and come across this type of information. Please leave a comment down below of anything. It will help the YouTube algorithm. So if you leave a comment down below, let me know if you enjoyed this video, if you found it interesting. Let me know what you think about my thoughts. Do you think that it makes sense and is a strong thesis? Do you think I'm insane? Either way, I don't really care. But I would love it if you left a comment, either way, to help the YouTube algorithm out and let me know your thoughts on it all. So wishing you well, wishing you lots of health. And I know that there are going to be a lot of great things that ultimately come about from a lot of this confusion, chaos, stress, and fear. I do believe in a brighter future for humanity, and I'm excited to be on this planet with you in this great time in human history. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification as well. The bell notification notifies you for new videos, even if you're already subscribed. Just double check. Have you actually hit the bell notification? It's right over there on the side. So like this video, leave a comment down below. And these were my stock picks to profit from the next market crash and the Federal Reserve's quantitative easing in infinity. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.